I'm Will Aubrey. It's time for another edition of the Improbability Engine. Alongside me, my buddy Joe Darnell. And we start, as always, with our moment of what. And give me your moment of what this week, Joe.
Okay, well, mine's Brent Musburger, the famous broadcaster, actually has been the voice of numerous sporting events through my life, is retiring from ESPN. Now, that's not wholly unusual. He's getting up there in age, and, that's what happens as time goes on. But what he's doing next is what's interesting. He's going into the sports handicapping business. He's starting for the Vegas Stats and Information Network, and it's going to be a sports betting news network that will have handicappers and analysts and so on and so forth. And it begs the question, are we looking at the age where national sports betting just kind of becomes a norm? Is it just no big thing? I mean, we've got daily fantasy football that people will bet money on, and people are saying, well, it's gambling. No, it's not gambling. Yes, it is gambling. If it costs money and there's a chance you win money, pretty sure that's gambling. Are we looking at national sports betting?
We could be. I do think it is gambling to do the daily fantasy thing. I think that's clear.
State of New York agrees
now,
with you.
Is it a game of skill? Of course. But so is determining whether the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to win a basketball game against the Indiana Pacers.
By more than 15 points.
Yeah.
And
there's skill involved in both endeavors. So in both cases, you've got a situation where it's not truly just a game of chance.
Well, it makes me ask one more further question that's only tangentially kind of connected to that is poker a sport?
No.
Well,
No.
You say that. It's on ESPN.
Too bad.
It's the worldwide leader in sports.
Is chess a sport?
I don't know. Is there tackling?
See, now, chess actually used to be covered in the sporting pages. I remember in the 70s when Bobby Fischer was playing Boris Spassky for the World Chess Championship. They covered it in the paper in the sporting pages. But no, it's not a sport. Number one, you have to have a ball or it's not a sport.
So hockey's not a sport?
They have kind of a ball.
So what about race car driving?
Not a sport.
Okay.
It's going around in a circle
Running.
and driving real fast.
Horse racing?
Horse racing is, horse racing is an exception to the rule.
All right. I'm just curious. I'm wondering.
Actually, I guess I'm wrong about the necessity for a ball because that would make soccer a sport, and it clearly isn't.
You're right. It's the world's pastime, which is even better than a sport.
My moment of what? Came across something kind of, definitely nostalgic. Back when I was a senior in high school, they had drumsticks at our lunchroom. Now, I'm not talking about chicken. All right? These were ice cream cones.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about,
Delicious.
the ice cream cones,
absolutely,
drumsticks.
with the little chocolate thing at the very bottom of the cone.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
Well, a friend of mine, Kathy Strange, back then had given me a gift certificate that she drew, and she had paid for me to be able to use that gift certificate to get a drumstick at the lunchroom, and I kept it. And I still have that. Now, number one, the amazing thing is that I didn't redeem it for the ice cream.
That is pretty amazing. I wouldn't have bet on that.
And then the other amazing thing is that I kept it for 40 some odd years.
Yeah, here's something that's interesting, Will. My wife's an accountant. Whenever she paid for that drumstick, she actually gave the lunch counter what is it called? They've got a debit now. They owe a drumstick to somebody. And by you not going and getting it, you have screwed up the books for 40 years at that school.
I've accomplished something.
You've done something. Now, here's the other thing. Would they still redeem it if you went up to the school system, maybe not particularly that school, but the school system, and tried to exchange your coupon?
I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, the cost of a drumstick now is a whole lot more, so what you've got is a drumstick future And so you are speculating on the drumstick market. Congratulations.
As I recall, though, it was only good on one day.
Wow, you really blew that one, Will.
So, moving right along, let's talk a little bit about Racer basketball.
Absolutely.
And it continues to vex me.
Vexed. I completely. That's as good a word as any.
They don't play a lick of defense. They didn't play defense against Southeast Missouri. The first half against Tennessee Martin, they gave up wide open layup after wide open layup after wide open layup. Now, they won the game. I believe it was 94-86, but that's how they have to win. They have to score a lot of points because they're dang sure going to give up a lot of points.
Well, the problem they've got is that, first, they have no depth. No real tangible depth. The scorers they have to stay on the floor. That was another thing to look at with the losses, especially in conference. You've seen foul trouble come into play, mainly with Miller down low. So if you can keep Miller on the floor, you're a much better team. So why play defense? It's a net negative if Miller stops somebody from getting a layup but picks up his third foul. It's a net negative. So don't play defense. At that point, you just tell him, look, Olay, get position, do the best you can that way, do everything within your power legally. When he gets the ball, stand there with your arms up. Let him get a layup. Because frankly, there's no good that can come from him sitting on the bench. And I think that's just taking into account all the rule changes and the rule emphasis this year, as well as the roster that Murray State has. It's just don't play defense.
I'm looking askance at you. Have you noticed?
I've noticed. But, Will, what else can you tell them to do? How many games do they win if John Starks and Miller only play 10, 15 minutes a game?
Well, clearly, not many.
Not many. Do they win more if they're on the floor, but they give up a lot of points?
But you can play defense and not pick up numerous fouls.
You know, Will, maybe in other conferences, but I'm not convinced of that in the OVC.
Anyway, they split the week. They have Belmont coming up.
Yep.
At this point, they're really behind the eight ball as far as finding a way to win the overall SEC regular season title.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You certainly have to beat Belmont to have any chance of that, and you probably don't even have a chance if you beat them.
I'm of the mindset that's
too much ground to make up.
Yeah, that went out the window.
With the loss to SEMO.
Definitely with the loss to SEMO, but maybe with the loss before that. So looking at it, the Tech loss probably cost them a chance at the. And that's so early in there that you go, well, that's insane. That shouldn't make sense. Belmont beat Tennessee State at Tennessee State. The chances of them picking up a loss at home later on in the season is it's a small chance. It's just not good. So you look at this and you say, okay, well, the regular season OVC championship, it's out the window. Play for seeding now. It's really important now. You've got to get out there and do it. That's the thing that hurts about the SEMO loss, is it's not just a loss to somebody in the West. It's a home loss to somebody in the West. They're still going to have to go to Cape Girardeau and play. That's a tough place to play, man. You don't want to go to Cape Girardeau and play and have to win games. Good teams lose in Cape Girardeau. Sometimes. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. And I think this team is capable of being a one seed in, being the one seed out of the West. I really, truly believe that. I think that...
I don't disagree with that. I think this team's very talented, and I certainly think they're capable of doing that. Now, I will note this, for what it's worth. After giving up all those layups in the first half to Tennessee Martin, they didn't give up very many layups in the second half against Tennessee Martin.
Yep, and what's even better about that is...
They adjusted what they were doing.
Right, they went into half with a lead, and they kept it. That to me, that's the thing that drives me nuts about this Racer team. How many halftime leads has this team lost and then went on to lose the game? That's the problem I've got. I can look it up. Jeff Bidwell actually, he tallied this stat not too long ago, and it's eye-opening. You look at what this team does, and you just wonder, why can't they hold on to the lead? Okay, so here it is. Murray State first half leads. 9 points at Middle Tennessee State. 8 points UMKC. 8 points Bowling Green. 9 points SIU. And they had an 8-point lead at UT Martin. Now,
You mean against UT?
against UT Martin, yeah. So of those, you're looking at, wow, that's pretty good. A 9-point lead at halftime? All right. You should be able to do some things with that, right? All of those games were losses except for the win at Tennessee against Tennessee Martin. So that to me tells you a lot about what's going on. When we talk about inconsistencies, we're not just talking about inconsistencies from game to game, which happen because they're not evil, we assume. But we're seeing inconsistencies from first half to second half. Now, here's what's interesting. What did Matt McMahon do at halftime that was different against UT Martin? And the answer is, instead of letting the guys sit in the locker room and rest, he took them out to the practice floor and just kept them moving. They did some drills. They did some little things. Now, is that something you want to be having to do at this point? No. But if you win games doing that, keep doing it. I hope that's something that he looks at doing against Belmont. I hope that he can come out and they can get a lead against Belmont. He keeps them moving during halftime, and whenever they come back out on the floor, there's not the bad lull that they've had, that early second half swoon that has caught them a few times this year. Because this team doesn't have the firepower to punch all the way back up. You know, they need to get ahead, and they need to stay ahead. If they can do that, they'll win a lot of games. They might even beat Belmont. If they can't, it's going to be a tough slog, and I don't know if they've got the ponies to pull it.
Moving right along.
Yeah.
This is a big week for Callaway County sports, as the Lady Lakers will honor Avery Fields this Friday at Jeffrey Gymnasium by retiring her jersey. Avery, probably the best player to ever play for the Lady Lakers throughout all the years that I've been associated with Callaway. She's correct, the best to ever play there. She is a 5-time All-District and All-Region player. She is a 4-time All-Purchase player. As I recall, a 2-time Purchase Player of the Year.
Right.
She, as a senior, was a first-team All-State player.
Mm-hmm.
She averaged a double-double in her career.
Right.
And she was just a phenomenal player, and she's a phenomenal young lady.
Absolutely. Some might argue about best player and talk about eras and so on and so forth. You can't argue with the fact that she was the most successful Lady Laker player in the history of the program.
Very true.
She went on to play in the Big 12 at West Virginia and, had a very solid career there in college at a high-level D1 school. And you're right, she's a fantastic person. So that ties back into the whole thing.
And if you look at those teams that she was on a team that went to the state tournament when she was an 8th grader.
Right.
Okay? Then the next year, she was on a team that did not lose in first region play until the final of the first region tournament against Marshall County.
Real upset.
And it was a real upset. And that game, that team that year might have actually been a better team than the team that she went to the Final Four of the state tournament with, because in addition to Avery,
right.
Rachel Adams was on that team.
Absolutely.
Kayla Cunningham was on that team. Then,
right.
you flash forward to her senior year when the Lady Lakers make it all the way to the Final Four of the state tournament. And, she made that team go. There were good players in addition to
Absolutely.
Avery on that team, but
she was
they were role players is the best way to put it.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
no.
You find if you have a group that can do an aspect of their job at a high level and can do it night in and night out, that needs to be celebrated. That is an incredible accomplishment because that's not easy to do, especially at the high school level.
And as a quick aside, and I know I'm talking basically about Avery here, but a story about that team that I think is just hilarious. you get to the state tournament, Carly Wilson has her hand taped.
Yeah.
Okay? And there are all these reporters around wanting to know why she has her hand taped. Because, they're worried that, she's hurt or something. Well, before the season started, she had some warts removed from her hand.
Yeah.
And so she had her hand taped at the beginning of the season. She shot the ball so well, she decided, I'm just going to keep my hand taped. So she gets to the state tournament, and her hand is taped, and they all think there's some sort of recent injury or something.
Right.
It's just taped because she was shooting it well, and she didn't want to change anything.
You know what? And you don't mess with a streak, that's for sure. You don't. If you're doing well because you've got tape on your hand, then keep taping your hand, whatever it takes. You know what I mean? So it just goes to show you that there are so many things that go into being an athlete at a high level, at any level. I mean, if you're a high level basketball player or a high level, high school baseball player, something of that nature, if what you do influences that, if you think it does, then it does. It just goes to show you the mental aspect of the game. It's not just physical. I mean, there's some aspect of physical ability that goes into it, but a lot of that's mental. It's preparation. It's the ability to concentrate and to work through stressful environments, and the ability to forget when you miss and remember every time you hit. I mean, that's just how that works.
The Lady Lakers play tonight as they host Mayfield, a team that gave them a more difficult game than one would have expected earlier this season. It is a game that Callaway will be heavily favored in and should win easily. And then on Friday, they play Murray High. And as I said at halftime, well, not halftime, between the two games, between the girls' game and the boys' game, is when they'll honor Avery and retire her jersey. And I'm really looking forward to getting to see Avery and talk to her. But
two really important games. I mean, the Mayfield game you can look at and say, okay, you know what, this is a should win. It's not a big deal. But you're right. Mayfield played Callaway tough. And the ladies, you've got to understand that the ladies are probably looking at that going, okay, this is a head check time.
Right.
Can we keep our focus in this game? Because this team has shown they'll play with us. We can't afford to look ahead to Murray. We've got to play the game that's happening right now.
Absolutely. And the Murray game, yes, Callaway will go in as a decided underdog against Murray. But since the last time they played them, they played and beat Graves County, a team they were not expected to win. I'm anxious to see just how much that victory over Graves County will affect the way they play against Murray. They might take a big step forward.
Well, and now there's another side to this as well. Murray just got bounced out of the All-A state championship by Monroe County, and honestly, Monroe beat them pretty good. I honestly thought that it was Murray's tournament to lose. And
and everybody thought that, but they were only a 4-point favorite over Monroe County.
And I can appreciate
people. They have a tendency always to think, well, our team's better than everybody else's team. So,
and I can appreciate that. But you're looking at a Murray High team, which is the class, it's the number one team in the region, a top 10 team in the state, and they were ranked in the top 5 when that game took place. Now, Monroe County also a top 10 team in the state. You could say it's bad luck for Murray and Monroe to meet at that point when they did. You would think probably that it'd be better that they were on opposite sides and then meet in a championship game, but it didn't happen that way. And that's the way tournaments work sometimes. Is you don't get the guys you think you should in the last round. But I'd like to see how Murray handles that bounce back. Coming back into Region 1 after being upset, or possibly not being upset, but losing in the All-A champion or the All-A state tournament.
Now, I want to talk briefly about lopsided games, because tonight's Callaway-Mayfield game might be a lopsided game,
right.
Okay? I don't understand the way that fans react to this. I could understand if you're not a fan of either team,
right.
why if it's a lopsided game, you're watching it on TV or something, you might change the channel. Okay, I get that. But if you're a fan, say, of the Lady Lakers, and they're winning by a large margin, you get to see players play that wouldn't otherwise be playing.
Right.
You get to see the kids play. And I'm always excited and interested to do that. I want to see Ellie Carson get out there and see what she can do. I want to see Tisha Travis I want to see McKenna Friedrich. I want to see those kids get out there, get a chance to play, and see what they can do. I find that exciting.
No, I'm right there with you. I think those games, success breeds success. It's an old, just a commonly thrown around phrase in sports. And I think this is what they're talking about. You get to develop some depth. You get to bring in some younger players who don't see a whole lot of time because the players ahead of them are upperclassmen or have started for so many years, and then maybe they're not ready to make the jump above that person, but they still need time at the varsity level. And these games are the ones where that happens. For me, I can understand where you're coming from. For me, I love watching the teams who are, if it's my team that's winning big, I love watching how they react to success. How they react to bringing new guys in and developing chemistry amongst the younger players, or how they're able to play defense or able to come in and adjust to the new type of game that they're playing. So I can understand where you're coming from.
The Callaway boys play Mayfield tonight, and Mayfield, one of the best teams in the first region, their boys team. And then Callaway plays Murray on Friday. The game against Murray is a big district game, and the Callaway boys have already beaten Murray once. It's a game that will be big for them. Now, I was talking to Ed Chapman at the coaches show on Saturday, and we were discussing this. There are fans who will tell you, I'd rather Murray can just have this game. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. When I really want to beat them's in the district tournament. I've heard people say that kind of thing, and that just doesn't make any sense at all to me. You should want to win every single game. And, I mentioned to Mick Cronin once, back when he was here at Murray State, that there were people who said, it's hard to beat a team 3 times, and Mick's response was, not if you're better than they are.
Yeah, the big issue there I look at is, you know what? The district seating is so important in the 4th district. You better want it, because you've got to win a game in district to make it to the regional tournament. Whatever you can do now that increases your chances of getting to the regional tournament, you better take advantage of. Because I'm here to tell you, once you get to the regional tournament, crazy things happen. You look at the Callaway boys and you're like, they're good. They're a bunch of role players, guys who haven't really fully developed into their own players, or they're not quite there yet. They're maybe a couple years out. I don't buy that. I think when it comes tournament time, you give these Lakers a punching chance. If they're in the regional tournament, it doesn't matter who they play. They've got the talent to beat some teams.
And they have a bunch of seniors on this team.
And they want it.
Kids who know, this is it for me.
This is it, yeah.
And they're going to go out there and do everything they can to win it this year. Anything else on sports?
No, I think we're doing pretty good. Super Bowl's coming up, and the only thing I hope for is that New England loses.
You're either a Patriot or a Hatriot. Go Tom Brady, go Patriots.
Yeah, I leave everybody feeling deflated. No, honestly, I don't care. I'd rather Atlanta win. I'm a Saints fan, so I don't really like Atlanta either. So,
Well, I was happy that the Cowboys lost, and now
commercials.
I'll be even happier once the Patriots win. And that brings to a close this edition of the Improbability Engine.